Good morning. Welcome to a new update. And today we're going to discuss GameStop. No, I'm kidding. Today we're going to discuss what happened with Bitcoin yesterday and what might happen in the coming period. Historically, Bitcoin corrects or the markets correct in February. Also, the equity markets usually don't have the best period in February. Maybe that actually happened yesterday already with a decent sell-off on the US equity market, causing the dollar to bounce up. So we're going to discuss that. What is likely to happen? What could happen with the altcoins as well? As there is maybe some confusion regarding the altcoins at this point. First, Bitcoin is doing really okay. In general, it's a very healthy correction. We did test the support once again. We did test the 30k level once again. Probably some decent bits were filled. However, the likelihood that we're falling through it is significantly increasing. What does that mean? Currently, we are holding the 30k level, through which we can still have a slight run towards 33, maybe even 34 again. That's the crucial barrier on the upside. If 34k breaks, we've got a new run towards 50k to occur. However, as you can see, and this chart did not change at all, we've got lower highs since this peak high. We've been hammering support since this peak high, and the bounces are weaker since this peak high. This means that in order to become bullish, we have to see strength. So first of all, we have to keep the 30k level, and then we have to break the 34k zone. Does that mean that you have to buy after it breaks 34k? No, my strategy is to buy dips, and if you buy Bitcoin at 30k for a swing trade approach, that is completely fine, as 30k is still a very low level compared to where it could be getting into the future in a few years from now. I'm not in the group that is expecting Bitcoin to finish its bull cycle this year. I'm in the group that's expecting the bull cycle to last until 2022, end of 2022, or maybe 2023, as there is so much happening in the crypto markets. But for now, we are holding 30k, and as I just made this scenario, it's still a likelihood that we make one more run towards this area. In that perspective, we get one more slight run, start to consolidate, and then we drop down. So I've just discussed the critical levels to watch on the Bitcoin chart, which means that the 34k level still has to break on the upside. If that does not happen, in regard to this chop here, and we do not break above the range high, the likelihood of consolidating further downwards in February towards the 21-week MA is significant. And that retest of the 21-week MA or getting close to it will also squeeze the Bollinger Bands, would start building compression, and from here onwards the big alt summer is going to happen. Why do I also believe that we might be in for a slight corrective move? It is because of the dollar index. The dollar index is showing strength, and when the dollar index is showing strength, frequently other assets like gold, silver, equity markets, Bitcoin won't do well. As we do remember this move in September, causing the Bitcoin markets to make a slight drop down, as we can see here. That is not a bad case. Market structure is still pretty much fine, but as you can see, it is quite vertical. After a vertical move, we get a period of consolidation and range-bound construction to build up the compression once again. So the DXY index looks likely for further upwards tests at 92 points. Likelihood of that occurring in February is significant, and that would cause the price of Bitcoin to, or at least gives arguments for a further correction on Bitcoin. I've just discussed Bitcoin, but also if you go back in history, frequently February is a corrective month. We saw it in 2020 where ETH also corrected south, tested lower levels. I'm also assuming that we're going to see that on Ethereum, for instance, in which we are testing those ranges around 0.32 once again before we continue the big surge on Ethereum. But in 2020, you saw that we corrected there heavily. In 2019, we see the same occurrence. And if we check the Bitcoin dominance chart, we can see that we might be getting a slight bounce up in the coming period before we just continue dropping down on the Bitcoin dominance chart, as most likely the top has been in December, through which the big altcoin summer is going to happen this year, and that's where everybody has been waiting for. What is going to occur for altcoins in the meantime? A correction of Bitcoin can occur in a few weeks from now, but until then, Bitcoin is still range bound, still constructing a range bound area through which altcoins can still pop left and right until volatility starts to increase on Bitcoin, and then the whole market will start correcting. So what we just saw yesterday with Swipe is the coin is waking up. It can still continue running towards $2.5 or any of those levels that we see, just similar as to Phantom, as that one is accelerating heavily as well. This can continue going on until Bitcoin starts to correct. Phantom is obviously not an entry point at this point. Based on the daily time frame, you're looking at this 5 cents level. But the trick here is that allocating or having altcoins is still the right option at this point. Even if we get a correction, I would argue to use liquidity to buy those altcoins, as the acceleration on Bitcoin is most likely not going to occur for now, as the volatility is draining away significantly and still correcting. But until the Bitcoin correction starts, and it can still last 2 weeks from now, altcoins can have their momentum, as we see with Phantom, as we see with TWT, as we see with Swipe waking up slightly, or even eGold, which is still accelerating heavily. Does that mean that those altcoins give you an entry point at this point? No, those altcoins are not an entry point, but you know that you've got those chances previously, and you know that once something starts to run, it generally does not provide many setups to go for. So allocating towards altcoins and letting them run is the best option at this point, until market sentiment switches towards a different cycle or different area, in which we just saw a vertical move of Elrond in the summer of 2020 as well. Heavy correction caused by Bitcoin doing well. And now we see another big impulse wave to the upside, and it's almost 10x again. Which means that for Elrond the entries are found at $40, scalp wise at 50, or maybe even around 28. But at this point it's definitely not an entry point, so you should avoid making those FOMO mistakes to enter any of these altcoins when they go vertical. And you still should be able to define those levels based on historical price action. But the conclusion, for now Bitcoin is chopping around. Until it doesn't lose 29 to 30k, altcoins can still pop left and right. You should be aware that there is a likelihood of a corrective move if Bitcoin doesn't break 34k and the entire market corrects with it. Such a correction will grant massive opportunities for altcoins to come, and after that we will have a big altcoin summer. So stay tuned, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Instagram, and I'll see you again tomorrow with a new video.